All right, this is reciprocal functions part 2, and so we're going to continue on where we left off last time. What I'm going to do is a quick summary here. So these are going to be the original functions here that I talk about, and what kind of changes when we look at the reciprocal. Okay, so first of all, if you had a point like, say, negative 5, and you had a y value of negative 1, guess what? Nothing is going to change. The reciprocal of negative 1 is still negative 1. Okay? And the same thing could be true if we had some point, let's say we had 7, and the y value was positive 1. That point also would not change. And the reason is the reciprocal of 1 is still 1. Now these kind of points that don't move, they have a special name. They're called invariant points. So invariant points. They're the ones that don't move when we make the change. So invariant points. Okay, the other thing we saw last time was, what if you had some sort of a point, like say on the original maybe you had the point 3, and you had a y value of 0, what becomes of that? Well, at the location of 3, in the reciprocal graph, you're going to get a vertical asymptote. Okay? And in a similar sort of way, what if in the original, say at, I don't know, 10 here, maybe we had a vertical asymptote in the original? I mean, who knows? What would happen over here is it would be kind of like going backwards, and the reciprocal of a vertical asymptote would turn out to be 0. So that's kind of showing you how these changes work. For all other points, whatever the x happens to be, you simply take the y value and you reciprocate it. Okay, so it becomes 1 over y. Okay, so that's kind of a summary of how these reciprocal functions work. What I'm going to do is an example now, and we'll have a little look and see if we can make sense of it. Okay, so there's the old grid, and let's throw a line on here. Let's say if some goofy line goes something like this. Okay, let's say we had that. Okay. And somebody said, we want you to draw the reciprocal, so maybe this is, we're told f of x, and we want you to draw this, 1 over f of x, on the same grid. Okay, here's where I like to start these things, and maybe I'll just leave it the color in black this time. I go looking for things like invariant points. So this point here, for example, is not going to move. Why is that? Because this point has a y value of negative 1. Same thing is true of this point right here. It's not going to move because the reciprocal of positive 1, right, the y value here is positive 1, the reciprocal is still 1, invariant point. Okay, next thing I have is right here at negative 4, looks like I have a y value of 0, and that means I'm going to put in a vertical asymptote. Okay, so we're just going to draw that in there. All right, that's probably good enough. Okay, so I already have 2 points on my graph and a vertical asymptote. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in all the rest with approximately where the new points are. I might even write some of them on the side here so you can see what these new points would look like. So over here, let's take, say, this point down at the end here. This looks like, wow, can't even count. Negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like about negative 8.5. And the y value of that guy at negative 8.5 is negative 2. Now the reciprocal of negative 2 is negative 1/2. Okay, so this point is now up here at negative 1/2. I'm just going to mark the spot with an X. Then, of course, we got this point here. And then what about all these little guys in here where we have, say, why don't we just take one example here. Let's take this guy right here. This is negative 5. Okay, and the y value at negative 5 used to be, looks like negative 1/2. if I reciprocate negative a half, I'm going to get negative 2. So this new location here at negative 5 is now down here at negative 2. Okay? And I can kind of see what's going to happen because we've got a vertical asymptote here. So this part of the graph is going to go roaring down like this. Okay? And this part here is going to go roaring up like that. Not the best drawing here, but that doesn't matter. Okay, so that's what's happening. That's my new reciprocal graph. Now when I go over here and I analyze some points, like let's say we take a look at this guy, it looks like negative 3 and about 1/2. So when I reciprocate that, so negative 3 and now I take 1/2, well that becomes 2. So the new location here at negative 3 is up at 2. Okay, then we got our invariant point here. And what else could we take? Oh, here's a pretty good point. This is the point 1, 2. Where's that going to be now? 1 used to be 2. Now the reciprocal is a half. So at 1, we're now down at a half. So what do I see happening here? Well, it looks like I've got the same kind of little curved graph roaring up like that towards that vertical asymptote, and then roaring along through that x over here. And it looks like we're going to have a horizontal asymptote happening here. Okay? And that's my graph. That is my reciprocal graph. And that's where I'm going to stop for now.